In this video, I want to provide an overview of the feature highlights of Synchro PRO 2017. We've made a lot of improvements and added a bunch of new features, actually a lot of new features in this release. One's the user interface, and the second one will be primarily what I call scheduling improvements. And the third one I want to talk about is primarily taking advantage of the data that you have in the model or the schedule, right? To use advanced features called calculated user fields and Synchro script. So the fourth one will be array rendering. So user can actually render high resolution array images or animations from Synchro directly as long as you have a powerful machine, or you can hit the magic button to open an account from a third-party render farm. But okay, let's get started. Talking about user interface, you will notice in this release that Navigator window is gone. So we completely removed the Navigator window from the left-hand side, okay? If you remember, it was with resources and 3D objects. Now we have moved it to the top, and then it becomes its own ribbon, which is called Navigator ribbon. Okay, we've also made other ribbon changes as well, but that's the main thing. If you cannot find Navigator in this version, it's because it has been moved to the top. The second thing, the second major thing that I think is new to the users, especially for the planners or schedulers, is that in this version we have completed the design of the horizontal task or resource properties window. So that is to say, you will have a layout which is more similar to what other scheduling programs have. At the bottom, you will be able to see predecessors and successors, and then those are you have more space. We've also added a new window which is called 3D View Properties window. It'll by default it'll be docked to the right hand side along with task property, resource properties. Now 3D view properties, and then these three windows, okay? And then in this version, we also introduced ribbon customizations. That is to say, user has more choices to customize their own set of ribbons, right? So we are trying to provide more flexibilities to our users who want to customize their UI per their need. No matter what they want to do in Synchro, right? Because for planners, you may need a different set of ribbons than those ICC engineers or VDC specialists, those kind of people. You can customize it. Okay, so also in this version, we helped our users to define 4 window layouts. Okay, that's one major thing. And then the second thing will be that we introduced this new feature called layouts in this version. You can actually find it in Navigator layouts. So this one is with an S. So it captures a state of your software. A lot of things it'll be capturing, which I will show next by using a couple of examples that I prepped. Also in this version, I think it is very important that we now allow users to select different objects, 3D objects, resources, tasks based on some common user fields, okay, which I'm going to talk about as well. So going back to the program, okay, by default, when I open Synchro, this is not the default view. So let me go to here, reset layout. I'm in Windows, and then I click the reset layout button. So since I have a 4K screen, my screen may look a bit odd, okay, but it doesn't matter. So right now I will be able to see, okay, my 3D window is not actually open. Let me just open that. Okay, so this should be my default layout. Okay, great. So the first thing I mentioned earlier is that the Navigator window has been moved from the left-hand side to the ribbons. Okay, now you can see this new ribbon Navigator is here. All of the features or functions that you were familiar with, they are now here, so that users have more space to deal with the information. For example, if I go to external data in Navigator ribbon, okay, Synchro opens an extra window on the left-hand side. Okay, I can close it if I want to, right? If I want to pull up animation, yes, I can as well. In addition to that, now you can easily, let's say I'm only using Synchro for planning, okay? I can easily turn off 3D because I want to go blind, right? And then I can undock task properties from the right hand side and then to dock it at the bottom. Okay, that's your task properties window. Okay, and if you go to links, which will be relationships in other scheduling program, whenever I have a task selected, you will be it will be very easy to tell, okay, so this is my predecessor, this is my successor. Now you have more space and then more user-friendly layout here. On the other hand, you have 3D view properties window on the right hand side, which we didn't have before. Okay, I accidentally closed my task windows. Let me task properties window, let me turn it back on. Okay, just to make sure I have a decent layout to start with. Okay, going back to 3D view properties window, you can see the settings you can change includes, I will just read them to you real quick. General filters. That means the 3D filters that you have activated will show up here. And then also you have cutting planes, 3D notations, IRA, skyboxes, 3D grids, and then camera, which will be, the camera settings. But those features, some of them were in options before, so users are, it's very hard to users to get them. Right now, everything that controls the visual part of the 3D view can be accessed here. So for example, if I want to create a 3D filter, let's say, okay, create filter from selected, like this, call it new 3D filter. Then right now I don't have the 3D filter window open. Then I go to Navigator ribbon, go to 3D filters, right? Okay, now let's say I want to activate the filter. Okay, you will see in the 3D view properties window, okay, actually in the filters tab, you can now see this 3D filter has been activated. By the way, the default operation, if you want to activate multiple 3D filters, it has been changed to OR because AND wasn't really that friendly, okay, for users, okay. Also, now users can customize the ribbons by going to, right-click in the blank area on the top ribbons, right? Go to Customize Ribbons. You can easily uncheck the tabs or do further customization if you like to. Okay, for example, maybe one of my managers on the project want to have a preview of my 4D model on a daily basis, right? He just wants to know more. Okay, so what I can do is that I can disable all the other tabs, right, related to authoring, right, and then simply only check the configure tab and then the 4D review tab and then hit OK. Then you can export the customization if you want to. Then go save it if you want to, right? You can save the XML file, call it 03 ribbon for 4 p.m. like this, and then hit save. Yes. Let's say, okay, on the same computer, I decided to, show a different set of ribbons, just like this. You can just simply import the XML file. I can also, import my entire ribbon customization just like this. This should be very easy. So great. And then the fourth thing I want to talk about regarding the UI, actually the fifth thing, is this new feature in Navigator called layouts. Okay, so this layouts has more functions than the other layout in Windows. Okay, the window layout only controls the position of the different windows that you have open, but this layouts in Navigator actually remembers more than your software. We will actually click through the examples that I've prepped here to explain to you what we have here, okay? So let me right click on the first layout and then click Open Layout. Apparently in this layout, I have a task filter turned on. So what you can see is that it's sorted by start date. That is remembered by this layout. And then if I go to, let me see, I just want to show you something real quick. Task filters, yeah, I have the task filters window open. You can see there is a task filter actually being activated. Okay, that remembers. So pretty much the task filter is remembered, sorting is remembered based on that, right? I'm going to open a second layout here that I've prepped. You can see my viewpoint is saved, and then also my focus time position is saved in this example. I'm going to open the third layout. What you can see is that my 3D filter is saved for the layout, okay? And then I will open the fourth one. Okay, now you can tell since my schedule have a baseline, right? The windows that I have decided to, the windows opened when I created this layout were saved, right? And then the dates or time to use, pretty much this one here, dates to use or colors was saved as well. Of course, along with the filter, and then sorting wasn't enabled for this particular layout, okay? And then if I open the fifth one, let's see what this is going to look like. Okay, what I can see in this layout is that this is something new that I want to cover in the scheduling improvements. I'm actually using activity code mode, so the grouping it has been saved. And then also the color scheme that I used for my Gantt bars has been saved. So there are a lot of extensive uses of this new feature called layouts. You just need to pick the one that you want. Keep in mind all the sorting, filter for tasks or 3D objects, and the color scheme, the dates, the focus time position, the viewpoints, pretty much everything will be saved in this layout. This feature will be extremely useful if you're taking Synchro to run a lookup meeting. Okay, you've saved everything, and then right now you just want to open your computer in the meeting, right click to activate the layout, so everything's all set. Then you will be able to play the button, which is right here. Okay? Also moving forward, I want to talk about the scheduling improvements and the new features related to the scheduling or planning in Synchro. Also, one important feature in this version is Excel synchronization. Now we allow our users to not only import, export Excel, also synchronize from an updated Excel spreadsheet. Okay. In the end, I want to talk about one of the important feature, which is related to selection mode. So there are two selection modes that we introduced in this version. One's the resource selection mode, and then the one is the task selection mode. So I will get into the details for it. It'll be just easier to understand. Okay, so right now I'm back to the Synchro interface. So like I said earlier, what you can see on my screen is actually activity code in the activity code mode, right? So you can see the activity code values are now in color bands, right? Also, you can go to you can use a different color scheme, use activity code colors to kind of present your Gantt bars a little bit better. So let me just turn out. I think I can get rid of this window, filter window, and then maybe 3D filter window as well. So I want to take another look at this. You may be asking, okay, how do I set it up in Synchro? So if you have existing activity codes, in your 4D model in Synchro, you can go to Navigator ribbon and find activity codes, right? In this simple example here, it's a very dummy schedule that I created for this demonstration, which will be which should be simple enough to address all the features that we want to talk about. I've created this activity code called structure, and I have three different types of activity code values, which are walls, slabs, and both, right? Walls in gray, slab in green, both in orange. So as you can see, if I go to plan, right, in grouping, if I switch from WBS to the activity code mode, so you will be able to see, okay, right now my tasks are grouped with grouped by you know, different activity code values. And then at the same time, instead of using a status color, which was the default color, you can use activity code colors, okay? So that the bars will be highlighted in the colors as well. So to set the activity code value colors, you can actually select the activity code value, okay? Go to the bottom in here, you will be able to choose the bar color, okay? It's very simple to use, and I'm also planning to provide a workflow video done by Kate, which shows you, how this can be more colorful and then more customized, okay? Moving forward, talking about again printing, right? This is important to some of our users. So if you go to File, I just want to point out where it is, and then if you go to Print, now you can see an added tab, which is called Header and Footer. Okay, so if you add a new header, okay, you will be able to go into this additional window, and then you can pretty much, decide how you want to change the layout of your header, right? In the end, you can even like import or export, import images. In the end, you can hit OK, go back to the main window, and then hit apply and all that. But here is where you can find it. If you go to File, Print, and then find this tab, Header and Footer. Okay, moving forward, going back, because I prepped some layout here, so let's just use that. So layout 5, if I open that layout, right, you will be able to see those additional columns, okay? So if I go to customize columns, you will be able to tell in this version, we've grouped the parameters for you, and then also, you also have the, in a more meaningful way, right? So you can easily find them. But predecessor details and successor details, we've never had those columns available for users to use before, but now you can see in the predecessor details, this cell for example, right? You will have the predecessor ID, okay, for this particular selected task, and also the relationship type there, okay? Lags will be lags should be available as well if there is any lag. Next one, Excel synchronization. So if I go back to, let's say, my activity codes mode, I'm just trying to use a simple example. And then I will be, so I've prepped a Excel spreadsheet so that I can demonstrate this new feature. So if I open that Excel spreadsheet, okay, just in here, you will be able to see in the Excel spreadsheet, I've updated, let me go to mode, list mode so you can see better. If I go to plan, list, right, you are able to see that, okay, so this is my exported Excel spreadsheet, right, which I've done already. And then in this activity code column, using the old values, right, I updated one of them. I changed that activity code value assigned to this task to awesome. Okay, also I didn't create that awesome activity code, okay, right here. So you may be wondering, okay, what's going to happen to your schedule after you decide to synchronize from the updated Excel spreadsheet. But let's take a look. So right now, if I go to import, go to Microsoft Excel, find my new Excel spreadsheet, which should be this one. I think they're both the same. Okay, then hit next. In here, you have all the options, right? Integrate. Let's say, since I only updated activity codes, right? I am not exactly sure if I need to do integrate for the tasks, assuming that I need to. And then I will need to integrate the activity codes for sure. Then I will actually hit synchronize. Okay, you can see the data processing is successful. Press finish to complete the synchronization and then hit finish. Right? Now you can see this activity code has been updated in my schedule, just like this. Okay? Great. This is a very simple example of Excel synchronization. Once you've exported your Excel spreadsheet, save it on your computer somewhere. Maybe you can pass it to a colleague or yourself. You can update it if it's faster. Then you can bring it back in, bring the updated information back into Synchro by going to File, Import, Microsoft Excel. Then, the data will come in. Okay? So the last thing, okay, for scheduling improvements, I consider as scheduling improvements because it significantly helps me when I'm doing model-based scheduling, and then when I have to resequence a lot of the works so that it makes sense, right? So what I will do is that also to kind of show off the layout feature, I'll actually go here, open a new layout, right, and then go to task filter right here. Okay, so now you can see I have my model. Let's take a look at this. Assuming that I decided to resequence all of my resequence from the start to the end. Okay, so what I will actually do is that I will select all of them and then right click, link task, choose unlink, and then hit the reschedule button. Now you can see everything's unlinked, except this one had some issues because I put a constraint in there before, so I will remove that constraint, choose no constraint, and then reschedule again. Okay, kind of a new schedule. So the next thing I want to do is that, assuming that I want to do some model-based scheduling, before you have to select from the resources window. But right now, as long as the resources are created, you can take advantage of this thing called selection mode. So you may notice that there are two drop-down lists added here. One, by default, it's resource. Okay, the other one is by default task. Okay. This window here, the value here decides how everything will be selected in the 3D view. Okay, right now, if I switch this option to task, you will notice that when I select 3D object or resources from the 3D view, it's going to select the 3D objects or resources per task association. For example, if I select this one, the associated task is selected. If I select this one, the associated task is selected, B2, right? And then this one again, B1, level 1 slab, level 1 wall, level 2. Okay, so that's a very simple example. So when I switch from resource to task, whatever resource I have selected in the 3D view, the associated task will be selected. Okay, let me go back to the default option, which is resource again. Okay, so now you can see I won't be able to select the entire group of resources that has been assigned associated with a task. Okay, let's take a look at this option here, task with assignments. Okay, so if I choose a task with assignments, what's going to happen? Let's take a look. So task with assignments will select the assignments associated with the task when you're selecting the task. For example, when I select level 2 task, okay, the associated resources or 3D objects are highlighted in my 3D window without additional clicks. Because we know before, if you want to select the assigned resource, you'll have to right click, select the assigned resource and all that. That's a lot of clicks, right? 2 clicks. Okay, right now you don't have to, you just need to select from the task list. Okay. So why did I say it's very helpful for model-based scheduling? That is because I had some experience before and then it was helpful, right? So let's say I want to do some model-based scheduling, right? I want to create my sequence based on the physical location of my 3D objects. So when I built this little teaser project, I prefer to do it from bottom to top. Of course, you can do it in some other ways, from top to bottom, top-down construction if you want to. But then in this case, I'm just going to give a very simple example. I select the bottom level, level B3, and then the level up, B2, one more level, B1, this one, level 1, and this one, level 1 wall, right? The one was slab, and then level 2. So after that, I can simply hit Control L. You will see that some logic has been added, some relationships have been added. Let's take a look. Okay, once I hit the reschedule button, you can see my entire sequence has been built, okay, like a waterfall. In this release that we've introduced the DCMA schedule quality check, which is this button here, schedule health check. Okay, so whenever you have a schedule ready, before you submit it to as a baseline schedule, right, for approval, go to schedule report. You know, you have all these information here. You can copy to clipboard and then open a Word document just like this. Paste everything in here. Okay, you may want to go through the details as you're, doing some internal review of your schedule, right? Also, if you go to this alerts window, it brings all the alerts items here. So you can actually click on each of the object here, okay? Each of the tasks here, like this. Synchro will actually highlight the tasks for you. On the other hand, if you click the schedule health check button, and then go to, you can actually print a nice PDF report. Okay, so if I go to documents and then go to presentation and then here, yeah, so I actually have a check there. So let me export the report and then hit save. Okay, as you can see, we have different issues in the schedule, right? I have missing logics, high float, and all that. But this is another feature I think very important that we introduced in this version. Another major improvements that I want to talk about is calculated user fields, script, and then an application of those two features with resource units. Okay, so I think not many people are using calculated user fields. This is one of the advanced features. I think it has improved quite well to an extent that users can easily use it as long as you have a good understanding of what you want to do and then what kind of data you have in the model or resources or in your schedule, right? So I want to start talking about calculated user fields by giving a very simple example, which is to transfer the quantity parameter, in my case, for its concrete. So it's transfer from volume from 3D objects to a task user field that I am gonna create in Synchro. The second aspect, or the second step I want to talk about is that you can also assign resource units to resources based on any 3D resource task associations. That is to say, in the past, you may have experienced, the troubles getting the quantities from estimating, right? You may have done it in other scheduling program that requires you to load your schedule with resources and also units based on a spreadsheet. Since we're doing 4D and then we're talking about model-based scheduling, I think it's the right time to step up to say, okay, right now I've done the tagging of 3D objects to tasks, right? Maybe I can take advantage of the parameters that I have in my 3D objects and then easily transfer based on such association from 3D objects to tasks. We'll give a very simple example of that as well. Also, I want to talk about the time distributed resource usage graph in this spreadsheet. I want to talk about calculated user fields, Synchro script, and a use case that I'm giving is how to transfer, from parameters to units. Okay, let's take a look at the software. Going back to this little demo model I have here. So let me turn off the additional windows that I don't want. Okay, I don't even want layouts, right? Yes, so right now you can see, make sure that I'm not cheating, okay? So I want to switch back. You see some weird things happening on my screen. That's because my selection mode was weren't switched to the default ones. Okay, right now I want to make sure that I'm not cheating here. I'm going to remove the resources that I've created, the concrete resource here. Okay, then the other thing I want to do is that I will actually go to analysis, analyze this tab, analyze here, and then go to user field here. I'm going to delete this task user field that I've created to start from scratch. Okay, like I said earlier, you see this recalculate values button here, and then you also see user field, right, underneath analyze tab. But you never probably touched upon those features before. So I'm just going to give a very simple example, okay? So right now, if I select one 3D object here, if I go to 3D properties and then expand user fields, it'll be very easy for me to tell. There are some interesting information or parameters that I want to use, right? For most of the general contractors, if they self-perform concrete, right, they're interested to know, okay, what's the volume of concrete that I'm about to perform next week? In that case, for the selected slab here, I can tell the volume is around 14,500 cubic foot. Okay, those are the values coming from the model authoring program. In my case, it is Revit. Okay, since I use the Synchro Revit plugin, Synchro knows. Synchro also knows, and then it's a very intelligent software. It knows what type of data it is. For volume, apparently, it's a number instead of string, which is a text, right? Okay, so that is to say, since I've assigned those 3D objects to tasks via resources, such association has been done. Is it possible to create like a task user field so I can I can display this column, let's say, you know, just call it volume, right? And then show it in my task table? Yes, we can do it. That can be done by user fields, and then I can easily create a calculated user field, okay? So what I will do is that I will actually click on user field icon here. I will right click in the window and then choose add. This window is a little bit different than all of the other windows that you've seen. It doesn't dock to anywhere, but this is just a prototype that we built to give you a brief preview of kind of Synchro's UI in the future. Okay, so let me create a task user field because I want to display it in my task table, right? I want to calculate, kind of do a summation based on all my 3D object associated with this particular task, right? I want to get the volume number, total volume number per task. So I will call it volume. All right, instead I'll call it concrete, okay, to make it consistent. And then type of data here, I will choose number, okay, because I want it to be, I don't think it's going to be a problem to choose integer, but in this case I'll choose number because I want to be right? The calculation type, instead of using the don't calculate, okay, I will actually switch to calculate. Okay, there are other options, but I don't want to go into too many details. If I click the edit button here under formula, I will be able to go into this additional window here. I'm more familiar with the formula here. For new users, I strongly recommend you to like search, type in the keyword to search. Right now, what I want to do is a summation of the 3D user field values associated with these tasks, right? So for each task, for each functions or formula or those kind of commands in Synchro, if you select that, you will actually see a little description at the bottom, which kind of helps you to understand what it does, right? Apparently for this one, it returns the sum of all valid elements from the argument. Doesn't make too much sense to me right now, but we will able to tell what it does. So, and then I can hit insert. So you can see it sort of works like Excel or some programming software. Okay, so what am I trying to sum here? So what I'm trying to sum is this user field called volume. Okay, so I can easily do a search at the top, and then I will see that I get the 3D object user field volume here. Okay, and then I will move my cursor here and then click and then insert in this place. Okay, so one thing that's missing here is my object. Do I want to sum the resource user field or the 3D user field? Okay, what I can do is that, let's see, resource. go to objects, right? My object here is my 3D object, okay? Because you might have grouped multiple 3D objects into one resource and the user fields are no longer carried over to resources from 3D. But let's use the 3D user field values now. If I do that, okay, so one thing I do want to add here is a dot. So that is to say, I'm going to sum my task user field, my calculated task user field is a summation of all the 3D user from all the 3D user field values from the user field volume. Okay, so then in this case, I want to make it more complicated because I know this number here is a cubic foot number, right? So and then I will divide by 27 to get my cubic yard number, which is something I'm more interested in. And then after that, I'll hit OK. So while this user field is selected, I can actually work in the table. So it stays on the top all the time. So I kind of want to pull up my user field that I just built, okay, so that it can be displayed in task table. Okay, and then I also want to select those tasks. You don't have to if you want to calculate your entire schedule, but a lot of times you have a schedule. I worked on schedules have more than 10,000 activities all the time. So in this case, I will select the user field that I want Synchro to process, and then I will also select the task that I want Synchro to process, and then likely I will select the 3D object I want Synchro to process. But you have your choice to process the entire schedule if you want to. But in my case, these are my settings, and then you can always play with all that. And then I'll hit OK. Okay, now you can see my calculated user fields has shown up here. Okay? So this is just one thing. This is done by calculated user fields, the user fields, and then creating a calculated user field. Then I do some kind of calculations there. Next thing I want to show is that the use of Synchro script. In the past, we never allowed users to kind of writing the units of the resources assigned to the task. In this case, I want to make my case more similar to what we usually do on projects, right? So although I have individual 3D resources here, what I really want to do is to create a resource that doesn't have any association with 3D. Okay, I want to assign this concrete resource to all my tasks. So this way, my this resource works more like a P6 resource, right? It doesn't have any association with any 3D objects. In this cell, it's blank. And also, it's assigned to multiple tasks, assigned to the selected task. Let me double check right now. So if I select the task here, and then go to Task Properties, and then go to Resources tab, you will be able to see my non-3D resource concrete, and then also my 3D resource level B3. Okay? Check the second task. Yes, the non-3D resource concrete has been assigned to those tasks. Right now, if I go to, I will actually select all my tasks. Also select my resources. Okay. And then, yeah, I promise you guys I will also introduce the resource usage graph, which I will open next. In here, I will do some adjustment. Okay, so, and then display only the selected resource. Okay, so right now you can tell for the selected resource here, my assignments is very simple. So for this task here, level B3, for the concrete resource, my planning units is 1, okay, by default. Okay, for level B2, the second task, my planning units for the concrete resource is 1. Okay, by default, it assigns 1 unit per task. Okay, however, I want to transfer this number, 997, to task B3, and then 3859 to task B2, right? And then load the resource units to those resources, okay, that are assigned to the task. How do I do that? This is the time when you will use Synchro script to achieve easy assignments. Simply assign units from any user field. It doesn't need to be a task user field. It could be a 3D user field. Okay, the task user field is just a way for you to understand what I'm trying to do here. So I can pull up this Synchro script window still under Analyze ribbon. Okay, you see that I have a script written in there so that I don't embarrass myself during the demonstration. So what this script does is very simple. For my selected tasks, okay, and then its assignments, right? It may have multiple resources assigned to the same task. I only want to change the units of the concrete resource, which is the non-3D resource that we've created. And then assign the units, assign the plan units based on the task user field concrete. That's what we are trying to do here. So if I click on preview, you will be able to tell that I've successfully run my script. Okay, those are the results. And then if I simply hit run, you will see the status has changed to modify. And then I can now close the window. Let's take another look. If I select the first task and then my concrete resource is selected, you will be able to tell that my plan units has now changed to 997 based on my task user field. For my second task, level B2, the same concrete resource is assigned to this task. And then the plan units for that particular resource has changed to 3859, which is my task user field, which was what I told Synchro to do by using Synchro script. So going back to the resource utilization window, if I go to options, go to histogram, right? Instead of showing, kind of a cumulative curve, not sure what this is, I want to make sure my graph is more meaningful, right? I can choose this option units per time and then decide my time scale as well. Usually I want to understand what's happening for the next week, right? I want to show a weekly histogram, a histogram by week. So I switch to week and then hit OK. So now you can tell my concrete histogram here. Okay, and then also if I go to options, go to curve, I don't want to show the percentage of available units. Instead, I want to show units per time. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Not a good option. Actually, what I wanted to show is something else. So if I go to options, curve, show cumulative units. Okay, so that is going to be my units, cumulative units here. Okay, what if I don't want to show my concrete histogram per week? I want to show by month. You can just switch the option to per month. Then you will be able to see a different concrete histogram. So to provide a more interesting example, so I have this high-rise example here. Okay, what you can see on my screen is that for my selected resources, steel and concrete, my concrete is in a kind of a light blue color, blue-green color, right? My steel is in a red color. So those are the things you can do to plot a nice resource utilization graph. Also, I can easily add cost to my concrete resource in this way. Okay, I can select effective dates or period, right? I add a new cost item here, call it concrete per cubic yard. Okay, it's hard to see here. Let me just expand the column a little bit. Switch type to per unit. Okay, in this case, I want to change my unit price to, let's say, not sure what's the right price for concrete right now, but let's assume it's 400 per cubic yard, right? Then you will be able to open this earned value graph since I've loaded some resource costs in there. Okay. Then you will be able to see the earned value graph. Okay. So I'm just trying to show the different possibilities. But in this version, you can do a lot of great things that you can never imagine in the past. This is pretty much about calculating user fields, script, and then now you can load units to resources that are assigned to the tasks easily, okay? By taking advantage of the parameters from your 3D models. One thing I did forget to mention is that you can open this additional window here, which is called Resource Usage Spreadsheet. Okay, it's not very nicely presented, but the data is there. So this is kind of Synchro's way to show the resource. Here is concrete, right? And then how it has been assigned to different tasks, and then you can adjust the time scale as well, so that it's being displayed by month if you like to see that. Hit OK. And then you will have those information as well. Right now this table is not editable, but what you can do is that you can export to Excel and then copy text if you want to, right? You can do that, and then you can copy text or export to Excel. But this is a new window, and then it has been implemented. It seems that there is a need from our users that they want to see the resource usage and then the resource usage spreadsheet. That's why we did it.